I was shrunk to the size of an ant and left to survive in a beautiful, mysterious and dangerous world. Welcome to Grounded, a one-of-a-kind survival game where I spent 100 days and went from having nothing to building a giant base and running away from huge spiders to attacking them head-on. No mods were used in this game, and do like and subscribe if you like the content. Also let me know which game you want to see next in the comments. So without further ado, I spent 100 days in Grounded and this is how it went. Alright, so let's choose a character. I'll go with Max because he looks like the Walmart version of Will Smith, and I'll name the yard as Amazon. Okay, let's start the game.
Good morning, Brook-Hollow. Today is October 20, 1990. This is your news. We have a special breaking report. The police department has released information that more local teenagers have gone missing. They were last seen earlier this week, and the only connection between the teenagers is that they are all students at Brook-Hollow High School. This could be linked to the disturbing trend of other possible abductions and missing teenagers from our otherwise quiet town. If anyone has seen the teenagers or has any other information, please contact the police department. The mayor of Brook-Hollow has put a curfew into effect for anyone under 18 starting tonight. Now to other news. In the business world, prominent practical technology signs a few deals with.
So I was spawned in a briefcase in the middle of a yard, which I have also named as Amazon.
What? Damn. Where am I? Are those roots? Nah, can't be. Oh, this must be one of those prank TV shows. Alright, be cool, Max. You're gonna be famous.
The game looks really beautiful, and as soon as I saw a giant baseball, I realized how small I actually was. Then I saw my first insect in the game, the red worker ant.
Got a new one. Hey, buddy. Clocks now.
I also found a weevil near the baseball. I was picking up few stuff from the ground like plant fiber, sprig, sap and mushrooms, but then I heard a sound of a signal.
What was that? Some sort of radio signal? I wonder where it's coming from.
So I headed to the place where the signal came from and found a field station. Along the way I also found a weevil again, so I greeted him with my pebblet. After that I went back to the field station and saw 3 devices, out of which we can use only one at the time, called as the resource analyzer, where I can analyze all the stuff I pick up from the ground and can also get various recipes which needed that material. For example, analyzing sap gave me a recipe to make a torch, lamp and a workbench, and sap is needed as one of the materials to build these. I can only analyze 3 things at a time because after that it runs out of battery and it takes time to recharge again. Analyzing materials also give me brain power, which will help me to make better weapons, tools and armors. Then I crafted a pebblet axe for chopping stuff and a pebblet spear, which is a melee weapon. Also, I made a torch which will help me to go to darker places like caves. As a melee weapon, the pebblet spear was much better than the pebblet, so with this boosted confidence I picked a fight with the red worker ant. The ant was 1 HP, so it started running away from me, but I chased after it and punched it to death. While coming back, I also found a mysterious machine on the way, which is also called as Spacer.
Wow, what is that?
I jumped on top of it to take a better look and found a blinking button, so I pressed it.
Showtime! Haha, just like laser tag. Nothing happened. Looks like the other two lasers are blocked. After all that build-up, this big mysterious computer doesn't do anything. Man.
For the machine to work, we need to fix both the lasers. I used my axe to chop the grass which was blocking one of the lasers. On my way to the third laser, I found a giant ladybug.
Ladybug coming through.
But I didn't want to mess with it as it can easily kill me. I found some lawn mites on the wire of the third laser, so I started to kill them all.
Good night. Sleep tight. Don't let the red mice bite.
Then I went inside the cave where the wire was coming from and killed the remaining lawn mites. Killing all of these mites fixed the issue with the third laser, so I went back to the machine and pressed the activate button. And then this happened.
Did you hear something that sounded like a big far-off explosion?
The machine caused an explosion near the oak tree which I am definitely going to investigate, but before that I wanted to make an armor and I needed a workbench for that. Then I made the whole Clover armor set and this is how I looked like after equipping the armor. I also built a roasting pit where I can cook all the raw meat we collect. After that I needed a storage as my bag was almost full. I also discovered ice cap mints, so I opened the box and found that I needed a higher level hammer to break the mint pieces. As the night was upon us, I also built a lean-to, which we can use to sleep at night.
Oh, it's getting dark. Should probably find somewhere to crash.
I slept through the night and after waking up realized that both my food and water levels were dropped. I started heading towards the oak tree explosion and found a giant juice box on the way. After having a delicious drop of juice, I continued my journey towards the oak tree and found an old anthill. I went inside to check what secret it holds and found a giant red soldier ant,
Whoa! It's a giant!
which started to attack me, but somehow I was able to defend against all of its attacks and eventually killed it. I went deeper into the cave, but this time I had to fight two soldier ants. I managed to kill both of them somehow, but I lost half of my health in the process. I also found some brittle marble and quartzite shard inside the cave, which can be used to upgrade armors and weapons. After that I exited the cave and farmed some acorns. I also found a cave below the oak tree where I found two giant wolf spiders who were sleeping, and in no world I was going to attack them with this armor and weapons. I headed back to the explosion site and found an open lab. After entering the lab, I found a robot named BURG.L. I helped him out and had a conversation with him.
I got your back. Give me a quick second.
System reboot in progress. Thanks for the helping hand. I am BURG.L, acting science manager for this project. I am also a robot. I am sure this all must be very disorienting for you, but hopefully I can explain.
I came to know that I was miniaturized by Dr. Tully's spacer platform, and to go back to normal size, I'll have to activate the spacer correctly. I asked for BURG.L's help, but he has lost most of his memories, which can be recovered by giving him super chips that are scattered all across the yard in 4 labs. Luckily, BURG.L gave me the location of one lab called as the Hedge Lab, and also gave me biometric access to the labs. I was heading back, but then I saw something moving below the ground, so I used my shovel to dig it out and found a grub. I killed a few of those and found that I could make a canteen using it, which will help me to store 2 drops of water. Using the acorn parts which I found, I made a bigger storage chest and sorted out all my storage units. I also crafted an acorn body armor set, which is the strongest armor set I currently had. Red End Club was the strongest weapon I had unlocked, so I crafted that as well. And this is how I look like after equipping the new weapon and armor. After that, I collected some materials to make a sprig bow and also went to collect some thistle needles to make some arrows. The yard looked beautiful from that height, and I was also able to spot the Hedge Lab, which was quite far from the base. The next day, I was testing out my new weapon on the ants. And after killing those, I got a new mutation of Ant Annihilator. Turning this on will make it easier for me to kill the ants. Before going to the Hedge Lab, I wanted to make a tiny base which can protect me from giant insects like spider. Then I created a blueprint of the walls and started building them. Once the construction was finished, my base looked like this. I know the base looked really ugly, but I'll definitely make a better base later in the game. I wanted to make one more layer of walls because we need a good taller base to protect us from giant insects like spiders. The base still looked ugly, but is just a little taller now. I also made a water container that can store up to 6 drops of water and a smoothie station where I can make different types of smoothies which will have different effects upon drinking. I was preparing to leave for the Hedge Lab, but then suddenly I saw a ladybug spawn in my base. It was stuck in my base, so I thought of using my sprig bow on it. The arrows were doing really less damage, and then suddenly the ladybug jumped towards me. The ladybug was doing a lot of damage in a single hit, so I decided to use my red end club. This club did a ton of damage and I was able to defend against its attack too. With really less health, I was finally able to kill the ladybug. Then I scanned its parts and unlocked the recipes for Ladybug armor set, which was twice as strong as the armor I was wearing. But I still needed parts like berry leather and flower petals to craft that armor. As the night was near, I saw an insect that only appears at night, and it was none other than the Firefly. I decided to attack it with my red end club, but it started flying just after one hit. So I used both my bow and red end club to attack it. And also got hit by some of his glowy bomb. I managed to kill it, and after analyzing it, I found out that I could make lantern and a headlamp using it. I slept through the night and headed out for the Hedge Lab next morning. Along the way, I encountered some scary insects like bombardier beetle,
Having a little spotted you.
and also found a field station surrounded by 3 stink bugs. One of them also started following me to kill me, but I managed to run away, as my only goal was to explore the Hedge Lab. I was close to the marked location, but there was a wall on the way, which I have to cross to reach the Hedge Lab. So I started running along the wall and found a locked entrance which could have taken me to the other side of the wall. I also found a mysterious cave which was filled with ant heads, and I think there was another person who was miniaturized and died while trying to survive in this dangerous yard. I somehow built a structure which helped me to jump over the wall, and then I found the Hedge Lab wrapped around a tree. After avoiding the Orb Weaver spider at the bottom of the tree, I started to parkour my way up the tree. Then I found a bot named Rusty, which started attacking me, so I killed it and got raw science from its body. I also found a piece of paper which has a password on it. The lab was filled with bots like these who kept on attacking me, and I continued destroying them to get raw science points. The lab was also filled with spiderlings, which are these white tiny spider babies, and Orb Weaver Juniors, which is a smaller version of the Orb Weaver spider. I got spider web from killing all of these spiders, which can be used to make silk rope as well.
This is awesome!
I had to find all the missing pieces of password, so I explored the lab further and I was able to find all the paths. Then I used this password to log into the computer, which unlocked the room to the Hedge super chip, and also unlocked the passage which can be used to cross the wall. While I was here, I decided to shoot down some berries and harvested the berry chunks from it. Once my inventory was full, I headed back to my base. I made some space in my backpack and I headed out for the Oak Tree Lab where I found BURG.L and handed him the Hedge Lab super chip, which got me 2000 raw science points. After giving the Hedge Lab chip, BURG.L also told me the location of the other labs and I'll need all the super chips from those labs to get information on repairing Spacer. After talking to BURG.L, I used my raw science points to unlock free recipes. One of them will also let me build a multi-story base and I'll definitely make one. I went back to my base and used this to make a roof for my base. Don't worry, I'll be making a new multi-story base later in the video. The next lab I wanted to explore was the pond lab, and on the way to the pond I also got a piggyback ride from the ladybug. I really wish that there was an option to tame these kind of giant insects. Anyway, I dived into the pond and found a giant fish. Also, I started collecting lily pad wax, algae and eelgrass. So the basic things I need to reach and explore the pond lab are a bubble helmet, which will help me to breathe underwater for a longer period of time, and I'll also need fin flops, which will help me to swim faster, and a slime lantern to explore the dark depths of the pond. It was night time, so I decided to go to sleep, but this time I had a nightmare, where I was being experimented on by some scientists in Armour Lab.
Please don't move and look straight ahead. I promise you won't feel a thing.
It's a go for molecular reduction. Spacer is primed.
Where you are going, all your worries will seem so small.
That nightmare was crazy. Like watching a movie. Spacer? Prominent? I know adults have nightmares about work, but I don't think their kids are supposed to. I have to tell BURG.L about this.
After I got all the required materials to build the necessary items for the pond lab, I started crafting the bubble helmet, fin flops and slime lantern. I also went ahead and made 2 types of smoothies, which will give me hyper stamina and fast swim speed upon drinking for a short period of time. Once all this preparation was done, I started heading towards the pond. After diving in, I was easily able to find the pond lab's entrance, but it was locked. So I managed to find an alternate route. I used biometric scanner to enter one part of the lab. Then I found a power grid control and turned it on. And now I have to switch on all of the 3 breakers to access the other levels of the lab. I managed to find all the breakers easily, but on the last breaker, I was attacked by a diving bell spider. I was lucky that it had a low health bar, so I managed to kill it pretty easily and then proceeded to turn on the third breaker. And finally the entrance to the pond lab was opened. After entering the lab, I started exploring more of the lab and found an underwater secret route to another part of the lab. I found a computer but was unable to reboot the biodome terminal, so once again I started to explore the rest of the lab. I found a new path which led me to the pond dome, where I was finally able to find the pond super chip. I also rebooted the computer and then this happened.
Get some of his memories back. Oh, what? This lab's a convertible. Color me impressed, Dr. Chloe.
The pond looked beautiful from the inside of the dome, but now it was time to leave the lab and head out to the Oak Lab to return this super chip to BURG.L. After giving BURG.L the chip, he said that the spacer suffered a failure in the beginning cell. He gave me one good and one bad news. The good news was that he had a spare cell, which can be used, but the bad news was that it is empty and must be filled with a cocktail made up of special mixtures, and the recipe was not known to him, and I must find the next super chip to learn more. I also told him about my dream, and after hearing to it, he was sure that these are not just dreams, but my memories. After chatting with BURG.L, I bought few more recipes in the science shop, then I went back to my base to take some rest. But then I saw another dream.
To go for molecular reduction. Things are fine. Also did with the outfits and backpacks they were snatched in.
Body mass readout is an acceptable range. The skin fold degradation is minimal.
Specimen vitals are stable and holding. Looks like we've done it.
Great job, everyone. Let's set up 3 more trials for replication.
Sorry to crash your party. The Defense Department has arrived early to discuss Project Orc. The director needs you to be present at the meeting.
Not sure what's worse, our director or a 3-hour meeting with the military.
Not another crazy dream. What the heck? They were experimenting on me. And they're working on something called Project Orc? Cool name.
My goal for the next few days was to build a stronger armor, tools, weapons, and bigger inventory. So in the process, I managed to kill a lot of ladybugs, which will help me to make a ladybug armor, which is a really strong armor in the game. In the process, I also found petals under the rose plants near the pond. At one point, I couldn't find any more ladybugs in the game, so I accidentally stumbled upon an Orb Weaver. I ran away from him as fast as I could, and then on the way found a lemon juice box.
The best punch to the gut you'll ever take.
I also managed to find a sting bug from which I could get the sting bug parts. So I started attacking him. These parts are needed to make a gas mask, which will help me to enter the Haze Lab without getting any damage. And it will also help to make a level 2 hammer. The fight with Stingbug was not easy without a mask. It almost killed me, but I was able to finish him first.
Just like a fruit pounder.
After this, I searched around for a while and found and killed a few more ladybugs. Finally, I had all the materials to build the ladybug armor, and so I started crafting the entire armor set. And this is how I looked like after wearing it. The armor looked really cool and provides a really strong defense as well. I also used Stingbug parts to make a gas mask, and so I finally headed to the hazy area in the game.
I'm all geared up.
I climbed on top of the giant rig to get a better view of the area and found some dead insects due to the poisonous gas. I collected some bombardier parts which I can use to make an insect axe while I was trying to find the entrance to the Haze Lab. I was attacked by some of the infected insects. Even the harmless insects who were infected were attacking me. So I started running away from them and eventually found the entrance to the Haze Lab. But an explosive was needed to blow the door away. So I started to head back home, and on the way back also collected some fungal growth which is needed to make the explosive. I also found an infected ladybug which could also throw exploding projectiles at me. It was a little hard to kill him than the regular ladybug, but I managed to do it eventually. After reaching my base, I found out that I needed red ant tags to make a Bradburst bomb. So the next day I headed to the red Anthill cave. My main agenda was to enter the cave and to steal the eggs from the red ants and explore the entire cave at the same time. So I started running as fast as I could into the cave by avoiding all the fights from the red soldier ants. I managed to find few eggs in the cave and stole it from the ants. I was also able to find the rotten bee armor set and a red Anthill BURG.L chip which will unlock a few more recipes in the science shop. My main goal was done, so I headed back to my base and crafted a few Bradburst bombs. And then I also crafted an insect axe and an insect hammer. After that I was finally ready to head back to the Haze Lab. After blowing up the door by using my Splatburst bomb, I entered the lab. I went deeper into the lab and found some annoying robots. After destroying those bots, now I had to go through a field filled with fungal explosions and infected weevils. After passing through there, I found a locked door, so I went back and started looking for a way to open it. Now I had to pass through a room filled with these explosions, and passing through there, I finally found the control to the locked door. After unlocking the door, I headed out to its location and entered the new part of the lab. And it looked like that I finally entered the boss room. Now I have to fight this infected ladybug which is throwing exploding projectiles at me. The ladybug put up a good fight, but I am just a little too strong for him. Then I removed the exploding fungus from the door and opened it to enter the final part of the lab. But as soon as I thought that everything was over, I was attacked by a group of infected mites. They were annoying, but I was able to kill them easily. And now I finally got the Haze super chip. I was heading back to my base and then saw an infected larva. And after that I got curious to see that who would win a fight between the infected larva and the red soldier ant. So I instigated a fight between them. At first the red soldier ant ate a lot of attacks, but even then he managed to stun the larva. But after coming to his senses, the larva managed to stun the ant with his next attack. This went on for a while and it was actually a little difficult to tell that who is going to win the fight. But then the larva used this special exploding attack and completely KO'd the ant. After witnessing this amazing battle, I was back to the base and sorted out all the storages. Then I headed to the Oak Lab to return the Haze Super chip to BURG.L, who can give me some new information about Spacer. As usual, he snatched the chip right out of my hand and gave me the partial recipe for the cocktail needed in Embiggening Cell. I also gave him the super chip which I found in the red anthill and got some new science recipes. I also told him about my dreams which we were having, but this time he had no idea what I was talking about. So I said my goodbyes to him and bought some recipes from the science lab. After exiting the lab, I finally thought to fight a wolf spider, and so I did.
Don't think my go-to spider elimination strategy is gonna be much use on that.
It was a really hard battle because the wolf spider kept poisoning me again and again, which was damaging my HP. I finally managed to kill the spider, and after all those poisonous attacks, I got a new mutation known as Mithridatism, which will help me to fight poisonous insects upon activation. After fighting with wolf spider, I got confident and wanted to find and fight a new big insect. So I found mosquitoes near the pond and thought of fighting them. I didn't want to kill all three of them at once, so I shot an arrow at only one of them to pick a fight with him.
I hate mosquitoes. Why do they even exist?
It was not that hard to fight and kill the mosquito, so I proceeded to kill the other two mosquitoes as well, and got mosquito beaks and blood sacs from them. As the day was coming up, I saw a ladybug and an orb weaver, so I thought of instigating a fight between them. I shot the orb weaver and then hid myself behind the ladybug, which caused the orb weaver to attack the ladybug, and this caused the fight between them. Throughout the fight, the ladybug looked really strong, and the fight went for so long that the sun started to come up. But at the end, this fight was a one-sided fight, and the ladybug won this without any difficulties. I headed back to my base and realized that now I can finally retrieve the mints from the mint box, as I have a level 2 hammer. I retrieved the mint shards from the box and analyzed them. Later in the game, I'll use these to build one of the strongest melee weapons in the game. I also crafted Mosquito Needle, which is a medium weight and fast stabbing weapon, and this is how I look like after equipping it. The great thing about this weapon was that on every successful attack, my health gets restored by a small amount, as the needle magically sucks the blood from the insect and sends it to my body. After this, I also attacked a giant bee, which can easily be killed by using a bow and arrows. After this, I went back to sleep and again saw a weird dream.
Dr. Schmechter, these...
Director
Schmechter. These specimens are the breakthrough we've been looking for, just like you predicted. We're close to eliminating the raisoning problem. Our team was up all night recalibrating the spacer.
I see. Of course, my hypothesis was correct. I hope all of you remember this moment the next time you question my methods. Now then, what progress has been made on covalent space expansion? How did Dr. Wendell Tully, a lifetime failure, best the brightest minds at Ominent?
Yes, sir. We're still working on that formula. I know it's been months, but the Embiggen process is far more complicated and dangerous than we predicted.
Ugh. Too bad for you, little ones. Prepare the specimens for termination.
This isn't what I signed up for.
Director Schmechter? Come on, Dream. If I ever see that dude again, I'm gonna make him eat all the gross stuff I've had to choke down here. And raisoning? Damn, this yard food is worse than pizza for causing nightmares. BURG.L, my robot dude, I hope you know what's going on.
So, the director Schmechter wanted me dead, but somehow I've ended up here. Anyway, life goes on in this tiny world, and this time I found a giant crow feather on the spacer machine. So I decided to chop it up using my insect axe. After analyzing the crow feather, I discovered the recipe to make a crossbow. And so I crafted one, and this is how I look like after equipping it. I also tried the crossbow on the red soldier ant and was able to kill it with just 3 arrows. I also tried this on an Orb Weaver. It was a little funny fighting with the Orb Weaver as I kept on getting webbed by the Orb Weaver. But eventually I was able to deal a lot of damage to the Orb Weaver by using the crossbow. After this I had a new objective which I wanted to do, and that is to explore the picnic table. The picnic table is a little far from my base and there is an easy way to climb it, and that is to use the Bratbus bomb on the rock which is stopping the leaning shovel. I used the bomb and now the shovel was leaning on the picnic table, which created a path for me to climb it. So I got on top of the picnic table and immediately realized that the table is swarmed with bees and also has some black worker ants, which I have never seen so far in the game. I started attacking the black ant and immediately realized how strong they were than the red ants. Anyway, I killed the entire group of these black ants and headed towards the another part of the table. I climbed on top of the cooler box to reach the top part of the table. I found an Oreo cookie, so I hammered it down into smaller pieces. I also found a field station under a book and also a zipline connector which connects to the sandbox. So I used silk rope to make a zipline to the sandbox. I'll use this zipline when I'll begin exploring the sandbox as well. So I also found a maze and started going through it.
Half ant, half man? All cool.
I was able to find the end of the maze easily, but there was a locked chest there. So now I started looking for a key to this chest. I found the key in the exposed pipe near the picnic table. And after getting the key, I was climbing on top of the table again, but this time I also found a barbecue grill nearby, which I'll definitely explore later in the game. Anyway, I unlocked the chest using the key and got a BURG.L chip and a Mega Milk Molar. I also found and collected few marble and quartz shards. After exploring the entire table, I was back to my base. Now before starting to explore the sandbox, I wanted to create a bigger base. I wanted to create a good base and storage because now we have a lot of good building recipes. I started with building a base using stem scaffold and making a floor on top of it using grass planks. So I made a blueprint of the design and started building it. I partially built the base of the house and thought of completing it later. So now I started designing the blueprint of the ground floor of my base. Once my blueprint was done, I started using all the collected grass planks and weed stems to build the ground floor of my base. After that was done, I started building a blueprint for the second floor, where I'll be keeping most of my storages, workbench, etc. Similarly, I also built the topmost floor, and after that I started to finish building the edges. Making this base was taking so much more time than I expected, but I wasn't going to give up now. The exterior of the base was completed and it was finally time to work on the interior. So I started by making some lamps as it can get really dark at night. After that I made some shelves for storage boxes and shifted everything from my old base. I completed building the interior of the base and decided to make a trap which will give me unlimited supply of meat. This is how I built the trap and used mushrooms as a bait, which will attract all the weevils inside, and once they are inside, then they can't leave the pit. Now I never have to worry about hunting for the meat, and just in few hours I caught many weevils. So the trap worked perfectly. After completing my entire base, this is how it looked like. The first floor consists of a bed, roasting pit, water container and a smoothie station. Moving on to the second floor, we have tons of storage chests, a workbench, smithing station and a spinning wheel. I couldn't think of keeping anything on the third floor, so I left it empty for now. But the way to get to the third floor is quite fun and much less boring than using normal stairs. I also wanted to craft an oven which needs two main materials. First is boiling land and second is charcoals. For the first one, I started to explore the ground for bombardier beetles. I was able to find two of them together, but a giant milk carton distracted me.
That is not the way I want my face to become famous. My dreams of fortune and celebrity are turned into spoiled milk. They'd better use a good picture of me.
I climbed on top of it and saw a door between the rocks.
Let's see what's around here.
So I killed the bombardier beetles to get the boiling glands and build my way up to the doors. It needed an explosive to open the doors and so I used it. I went inside the lab and found a level 3 weapon called as the Pinch Wacker. One thing unique about this weapon is that it randomly acts as a Thor's hammer. That means it can struck your opponent with lightning and it also does pretty good damage. I think you can increase your chance of getting the lightning attack by perfectly blocking an attack with it. I got the remaining boiling glands and now I just needed charcoal to build this oven. But for that I need to go through the sandbox first. You'll know why in a few minutes. So again I headed back to the picnic table and took the zipline from there to the sandbox.
This is awesome! Oh, check it out! I bet there's treasure there!
My main goal in Sandbox was to explore as much as possible and kill as much ant lions as I can. So that's what I did. I started exploring the sandbox and found many ant lions. These insects were really strong, but by using this Pinch Wacker I managed to kill them. For some of these ant lions, once you kill them, you can get away into their cave, where you can find various treasures like salt and spicy shards, and also different types of marble and quartz shards. I got lucky in one of these caves and found a roly-poly chestplate, which is the strongest armor I have in the game so far. I proceeded to kill a ton of ant lions while exploring the sandbox. And while exploring, I also found the black anthill descent, where I'll enter later to get the last super chip. I also found a field station in between some of the cactus plants and analyzed the ant lion parts, which gave me the recipes to make the ant lion armor set, which is really important to retrieve coal from the grill. And this armor can easily reduce a lot of sizzling damage you get from being there. And it's also used in making a level 3 heavy sword, also known as Antlion Greatsword. So I proceeded to kill antlions and collected enough of its parts to make both the armor set and the sword. So I went back to my base and crafted the Antlion armor set and Antlion Greatsword, and this looked really cool. Take a look at how I look like after equipping the armor and the sword. The sword is a heavy two-handed weapon and the armor looks beautiful, like a cowboy outfit. So the preparation has been completed, so I headed for the charcoal hot springs. I crafted joint stairs to climb up to the location and then immediately started looking for the charcoal. I had to break giant pieces of charcoal into smaller ones using my hammer. I did that and collected few of the charcoal pieces and still got damaged due to the sizzling effect. The armor was protecting me, but it doesn't provide complete immunity to it. In the middle of farming these charcoals, I also had to fight these annoying ladybird larvas, but it was good as I got tough gunk from killing them, which I really needed to make some of the strongest weapons in the game. After beating these annoying insects, I was done with this place, so I headed back to my base and completed the construction of my oven. Once that was done, I headed back to the Oak Lab to give BURG.L the auxiliary chip which I found on the picnic table, and to also tell him about my dream where I was so close to dying. BURG.L told me that Director Schmechter is up to no good, but I detected that already from the dream which we had. I headed back to the base and started preparing for the Black Anthill Lab. This time I crafted smoothies like Fuzz on the Rocks and Green Machine, which will give me increased health and stamina for a limited amount of time upon drinking. I was ready to leave for the last lab, but then I heard this sound.
Bad guy attack!
Yup, my base was getting attacked by the red ants, so I had to defend it as I have spent so much time in building it. After killing all the ants, I took a good night's rest and then headed out for the lab. After reaching the sandbox, I jumped into the Black Ant Cave. After going a little deeper into the cave, I was able to find the Black Anthill Lab easily.
Coincidence? Whoa, this is way cooler than my ant farm back home.
I had to blew off the rock blocking the entrance, and so I did. The lab is divided into two parts, Part A and Part B. So I was able to find and unlock the Part A, so I started exploring it. After I was done with the Part A, I started searching for a way to unlock the Part B. And then I found the Black Soldier Ant, which is a really strong ant in the game, but not at the level where I am right now. After searching here and there for a while, I was able to open the entrance to the Part B of the lab. I headed into the Part B of the lab and found a place with a huge semi-broken glass. So I used an explosive to break that glass and then entered it. Then I interacted with a computer which initiated a new boss fight with the assistant manager robot, which has a huge health bar and can spawn other small bots, and can also turn on lasers in the middle of the fight which can do a ton of damage. I also used smoothies in the middle of the fight. And with some patience and slicing, I was able to destroy the assistant manager. And then I stole his keycard. Using that keycard, I entered deeper into the lab and found the last super chip in the game. After that, I found my way out of the lab and found a wolf spider waiting for me there.
Don't think my go-to spider strategy.
I was in the middle of the fight with the spider, but then an antlion also came out of the ground to attack me. But this gave me an idea. Instead of killing them, what if they kill each other? Some of you might have guessed it, it's time to see who would win a fight between a wolf spider and an antlion. The antlion was able to stun the spider multiple times easily, and it clearly looked like the tougher fighter. But it also had more health than the spider, so I started shooting arrows at it to equal out the health and give a fair fight. Now the fight was toe to toe. And once both of them were low enough, then I jumped in and killed both of them. The next day I also made a black ant shovel, which I used to find a buried treasure in the sandbox. and the treasure was nothing but a key to a treasure chest. I also found a small lab near it which can be opened using the assistant manager key which I stole from him. And inside it I found a Sandbox BURG.L chip which I can return for some new science recipes. I started exploring the sandbox to find the treasure chest. I was able to find it and then unlocked it using the key I found earlier. Inside the chest I found the recipe to a deadly weapon that is a Salt Morningstar, which doesn't do a lot of damage but can easily stun your opponents. After this I went back to the Oak Lab to return the Black Ant Lab super chip, and BURG.L told me that he couldn't find the last ingredient of the cocktail, and to get that I need to get access to Dr. Wendel's Scabby, which will give us his location and he will be able to tell me more about the recipe. I also gave him the sandbox chip and got some recipes which were needed to make some of the strong weapons. Then I unlocked all the recipes from the science shop which were needed to make these weapons. I went back to my base and made some salt and mint glob which I needed to make the mint mace and the salt morningstar. And then finally I created two of the strongest level 3 weapons in the game. The first one is Mint Mace, which is a heavy hitting weapon and does a ton of damage, as you can see. It's so easy to kill these giant insects with a weapon like this. But on the other hand, the Salt Morningstar was a one-handed weapon which does less damage but has a really high chance to stun your opponent repeatedly. This weapon is really strong too and can be used with a shield in one hand. So these are the two strongest weapons you can craft in this game, which makes it much easier to kill these giant insects. Also, I went back to bed and had another dream.
Alright, here they are. All tucked in with the outfits and backpacks they were snatched in. As requested, they're strapped and synced with scabbies for whatever they might run into down there. You do realize the director will have our heads if he finds out we're removing company property?
Can you sleep at night with what this company's doing? We need to do something.
Is Dr. Tully even alive? The field team reported him missing months ago. You are prolonging the inevitable.
Wendell, wherever he is the only hope for these kids. I'll make the delivery to his yard discreetly. No one is even going to know.
I hope you know what you're doing.
Wow. Thank you, Mrs. Ominous Scientist. If you hadn't saved me, I'd have been stomped by Schmechter for sure. I wonder if she knows more.
I had a great time playing this game and really wanted to finish it, as there is still some story left and there are a lot of boss fights which I have not taken yet, and there are many places which I still have to explore. So do let me know if you want a 200 days video where I'll try to finish the game completely. If you enjoyed the content, then do like and subscribe to stay updated for the upcoming videos.